I want to begin by asking a question about Stanley Kubrick, the American philosopher, who was here last night at the screening, and who's a friend of Arnaud, and you were saying that his work is an inspiration for some of this film, and I thought that might be a good place to start talking.
Usually I'm starting with just strange lines, that I think that they would be proper for actors, that they would be funny, they would be, and oftenly, for me, good material is material that I can't understand, but I think it would be good to be acted, to be performed, So I found out those lines of Emerson when he lost his son, Waldo, at the same age as Joseph, and he said those shocking lines, and I'm not able to understand because it's philosophic stuff, But what I'm able to perhaps is to give these lines to an actor, and that's the very lines which are opening the film, when the father is in the graveyard and saying, I don't want to allow myself to say that I'm proving any sorrow, very strange, weird. My son just died, but it's just like a leaf from the tree. Very shocking lines, So, but yes, it's very close. It matters to me. I mean, Stanley Kubrick really matters to me. Yeah.
And it's in the film, there's also the quote from The Genealogy of Morals by Nietzsche at the
Which
end.
is coming from a book of Stanley Kubrick too, yeah. But it's very abstract things.
No. Because, well, what does his work mean to you?
Because I learned a new way of looking at films. We wrote that book on American classic comedies.
Pursuits of Happiness.
Yeah, and which really mattered to me. It was a totally different perspective. If I compared, with the French critic, suddenly I was discovering another way of looking at films and playing with films, playing with the ideas and concept, and so. He's a wonderful writer. He's an American writer, and a very brilliant writer, because he's never saying, this film means this or this film means that. But looking at this film, I could say this or I could say that, and it's just opening the. He's not afraid that a film can have several meanings in the same time. That it's just like the snow scene, when it's all just flickering around you. Je sais pas comment on dit les petits les flocons de neige.
Snowflakes.
Yeah, and for him, that's what films are about. It's these small meanings, which are just flickering on you.
And does that reflect your own way of looking at films?
I recognize a way when I was looking at films. So I recognize that it seems to me that I behave in the same way than Stanley Kubrick in a theater. That I'm the same kind of spectator than him.
Do we have someone? Have any questions? If we do, the microphones are here on either side, and you can come right down. Okay.
I usually don't like asking questions about meanings and ask you to interpret things, but there's a character, Paul Daedalus, who is also the main character from My Sex Life. And I'm wondering if we're meant to think that this is a young Paul Daedalus, or if it's just sort of the idea of Paul Daedalus moved on to another film.
I just could say, first of all, that it seems to me that the young guy is quite lost in the movie, so I thought that Daedalus is appropriate for a guy who feels lost, so he's just lost, that's it. And after that, writing the character, we noticed that he's this young guy who never allows anything to himself, so he's restrained, he doesn't have a life, and I knew that the character would have no hope, actually, in the movie, and I didn't want to be mean with him. So it was a sort of gift I was giving to the character and then to the actor, interpreting the part, saying, okay, you will have a tough time during the movie, but don't worry, in 10 years you will be on the couch, in a psychoanalyst place, and I know your life because I already filmed it, so it's a sort of, to say, don't worry that much, you have a hard time because you are 16 years old, but you will be a moron at 30. I know you because I filmed you. So.
The city of Roubaix seemed like a character in itself, and I wondered do you have a connection with the city, or why that city?
Actually, I was born in this city, it's funny because just something like 1 month ago, I saw an old French movie by l'écrivain de théâtre très connu, si Versailles m'était Sacha Guitry. It was a film of the 30s, late 30s, and at one point, one of the character is threatening the other one, saying, be careful, because if not, I will send you in Roubaix and you will be a teacher there. The city became a joke, in France, because it's really miserable. It's really, it looks like nothing, just workers without work, unemployed workers, mainly North African. It's a great North African country, city. I love it, Then the challenge was to take this city, which is not appealing at all, and which is really a joke, in France, and to say that one of the tasks of cinema would be to enchant such a place, and it seems to me that to refuse any despair and to say, no, what cinema has to deal with is magic, it's a fairy tale, it's just a tale of Christmas, so with the snow, etc., and the way of shooting it and finding the right angles, we can enchant, can we say enchant? To make magic, to make it magical even if it's a dull place, that is just the way of looking at it.
But do you think that you would have made this film differently if you hadn't made L'Aimé, the little film that you made, the portrait of your father? Made this film differently if you hadn't made L'Aimé?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. No, I'm pretending I would have done it. Okay. Wait. Because it's another small film I did in Roubaix. But in L'Aimé, I was filming Roubaix like San Francisco, because there was a lot of quotations. But this one, I filmed it like Boston.
This is like Boston?
Yeah.
And the other one
I would say Concord.
The Boston vision of Roubaix?
Yeah,
okay.
Bostonian way.
In Kings and Queen, there's a very similar letter. I mean, the letter isn't similar, but it's a similar scene with a character reading a letter against a similar background. And I think you had mentioned in a question and answer session then that the letter in that film was the first thing you wrote in that film. In this film, Matthew Almaric, when he reads the letter, says that it would be a good beginning for a story. Was it the beginning of this story, or was something else the beginning of the story for you?
Oh, the beginning was definitely the Emerson's line in the graveyard. My son is dead and I don't feel any sorrow, and because it's stupid to cry, it's better to fight, or something like that. I'm the son of my son, and those old lines I was quoting. But the second lines I wrote were actually this letter, yeah. Because it was so abstract and so violent in the same time, The letter written by Henry is so bizarre, it's so... But I knew that it would be a good material for an actor, if it works, if the actor is able to carry it, I love the way Matthew is saying, I think that we are into a myth, but actually the annoying point is I don't know what kind of a myth it is, And I thought it was a nice start, for a movie.
Hi.